February in Michigan. It blows. This past week alone, we saw bone-chilling temperatures that gave you blue balls and heavy accumulations of precipitation. But hey, look on the bright side. The 11 inches of snow some areas got matches the 11 Big Ten victories for Michigan basketball, as Juwan Howard's gang is currently hotter than fish grease on a Traverse City stove. With an overall record of 16-1 and the number 3 ranking in the AP Top 25, Big Blue is knocking on the ass of March Madness for a number 1 seed. We'll babble hoops coming up next, and why Juwan Howard deserves serious Coach of the Year considerations. Also, we jabber Pistons, including the Blake Griffin saga, and the emergence of Jeremy Grant and Sadiq Bey, Yak Red Wings, and why the rebuild may just take a little bit longer than expected. Talk Lions and who they're eyeing in this April's NFL Draft, and much more right now on DSE.
Recorded from the DSE studios in downtown Detroit, this is Detroit Sports Extreme. Here now is the voice for Detroit Sports, Johnny Bakerstone.
Good day to you, Motown, and welcome to DSE. I hope you enjoyed freezing your ass off and throwing out your back, shoveling the foot of snow we got slammed with. But I have something that'll warm up your testicles and alleviate at least some of your pain. Michigan basketball. Like 'em or not, they deserve our attention, and the victors just returned to the hardwood following a 23-day COVID hiatus and have ripped off 3 impressive wins in a row, highlighted by a Columbus conquering over the hated Ohio State Buckeyes. Let's kick off our lead story with some college basketball banter in a segment we like to call the Motown Sound.
The Motown Sound.
We have no football right now, our NBA and NHL teams blow more than snow, and Michigan State, who I will get to later in the show, has been a colossal East Lansing dumpster fire, but we do have Michigan basketball. Woohoo! The Wolverines returned to the hardwood on February 14th, following a 3-week layoff due to a department-wide COVID-19 shutdown, shook off the rust, and went up to Madison and beat Wisconsin 67-59. Then, they outdueled the stingy Rutgers Scarlet Knights team 71-64 on Thursday, and on Sunday, went down to Columbus and beat the 4th-ranked Ohio State Buckeyes 92-87. I hope you had a chance to pound back some beers and watch the Saturday afternoon showdown, because it was a great game that featured back-and-forth action and good 3-point shooting until the very end, as Juwan Howard's bunch improved to 16-1 overall and 11-1 in the Big Ten. The Maize and Blue are currently projected to be a number 1 seed in the upcoming NCAA tournament, which would be the first time since the Fab Five did it in 1993. That really surprises me, as I thought at least one of John Beilein's teams had been a 1 seed, but apparently not. So how does a man that's only in his 2nd season in the first chair do all of this after going just 19-12 last year and losing his starting point guard in Xavier Simpson? Well, the return of senior forward Isaiah Livers has certainly been a huge help, who contemplated going to the NBA last spring, but that would have been a huge mistake, as he was being mocked to go in the 2nd round. And the emergence of sophomore guard Franz Wagner has also helped. Both rank in the top 3 of the team in scoring and rebounding, and obviously, Michigan would not be where they are today without them. But I'd like to focus on 3 players in particular, all new to the team this season. Freshman center Hunter Dickinson and senior transfer guards Mike Smith and Chaundi Brown. All three were lured to Ann Arbor by Juwan Howard, and all three have made massive contributions. We have touched on Dickinson a little in past shows, and he currently leads the team in points, rebounds, and blocks per game. He was a 4-star recruit who received offers from Duke, take that Coach K, Florida State, and Maryland, but was drawn to Ann Arbor by his relationship with Howard and Michigan's strength and conditioning program. Dickinson dominated OSU on Sunday, netting 22 points and grabbing 9 rebounds. The much shorter Ohio State team had no answer for him. Boy, I wish it were that easy in football. Michigan loves to play the inside-outside game with the 7-1 center, and once he establishes position in the blocks, he's nearly impossible to defend. And if he gets double-teamed, he simply kicks it out for a look from 3, where Michigan went 11 of 23 from against Ohio State, and where they shoot almost 40% from on the season. Dickinson has a nice shooting touch from outside too, and shoots a respectable 75% from the stripe. Senior guard Mike Smith, a transfer from Columbia of all schools, is the second man I'd like to talk about. He might have a household name, but he does not have a household game. What an absolute diamond in the rough finding for Howard, as Smith has made the departure of Xavier Simpson a seamless transition at the point guard spot. He plays nearly 30 minutes a night, rarely turns the ball over, shoots it well from the outside, and is good at setting up other players and running the offense. From Trey Burke to Derek Walton to Simpson to Smith, the Wolverines always seem to have a good point guard, and Smithers is no exception. Lastly, senior guard Sean D. Brown, a transfer from Wake Forest, is the team's best perimeter defender, and he can score when called upon too, averaging 8 points a game on 48% shooting. The team has also praised his leadership, a role he began carving up from day one of practice. Juwan Howard's knack to recruit Dickinson, as well as his use of the transfer protocol for Smith and Brown, has been a huge reason why the Wolverines are in the midst of one of their best seasons in program history, and why he should win Coach of the Year. And let's not forget, his ability to make in-game adjustments this season has been outstanding. I must admit, Howard has shocked me, as I was not that stoked when the team hired him, but he has turned heads all over the nation, including mine. And it's not like he's doing this in a watered-down Big Ten either. The Big Ten is college basketball's best conference this year, no thanks to Michigan State. Get this. 3 Big Ten teams are ranked inside the top 5, as Michigan is 3, Ohio State is 4, and Illinois is 5. And Iowa isn't far behind at 11, and Wisconsin is 21. In what has been a dismal year for our pro teams, Juwan Howard's Michigan Wolverines at least give us something to watch as we continue to hate our lives in the dog days of winter, counting down the days until spring. Things won't get any easier on Sunday, though, when Michigan hosts Iowa in a 7 o'clock clash on ESPN. Order a pizza, grab a 6-pack of your favorite beer, and check it out as Big Ten Player of the Year favorite Luka Garza comes marching to town. I'll be watching his matchup against Hunter Dickinson very, very closely. We are going to take a quick 60-second commercial break here on Detroit Sports Extreme. Do not go anywhere.
At Domino's, a delivery gone wrong doesn't just hurt your pizza night.
It hurts our pride. We're going to be expediting this order?
It could be a missing dipping sauce, a wrong topping, or maybe somebody came all over your pizza. With Domino's new Come Delivery Insurance, if your delivery isn't what you expected, make a claim and we'll make it right. Hi, ma'am, I noticed you had an issue with your last delivery. It looks like somebody came all over it.
Oh gosh, thank you!
Get 2 medium 2-topping pizzas delivered for $5.99 and put our Come Delivery Insurance to the test. Welcome back to Detroit Sports Extreme. Here again is the voice of Detroit Sports, Johnny Bakerstone. Below the belt.
Okay, for this segment, my former colleague at 1660 The Wave, Candy Copperfield, and myself will battle it out mano a mano on some of the juiciest sports topics in Detroit. All right, let's get it on.
With Blake Griffin playing his last game in the Motor City and being shopped by management, what should the Pistons expect to get in return for his services?
Not a whole hell of a lot. Blake's game has declined considerably since his monster season a couple years ago, and the Pistons should have traded him then when his stock was the highest. But instead, they were too busy chasing the last playoff spot in the Eastern Conference. Griffin is only averaging 12 points and 5 rebounds, and is owed a remaining $36 million this season and $39 million next season. Barring a minor miracle, I see the Pistons simply buying out his contract.
Sadly, Johnny, I agree with you. Blake is dunking more donuts than basketballs these days, as amazingly, he hasn't dunked a basketball in an NBA game since 2019. You have to think he has more left in the tank than this, but he's seemingly aged 5 years overnight with the plethora of injuries he suffered. For his sake, I hope he can go to a contender, and as of now, the Heat are the front runner to land him.
Sitting at 8-22 with the NBA's second worst record, are the Pistons ahead, in the middle, or behind in their rebuild under Troy Weaver?
Ahead. This has nothing to do with their record, as I'm not predicating this on wins and losses. But most of Weaver's draft picks and offseason acquisitions have hit. Sadiq Bey has flourished after stepping into a starting role following the Blake benching, and Christian Stewart is turning heads with his hustle and rebounding. What seemed like a crazy deal at the time when they signed Jeremy Grant to a 3-year, $60 million contract is now looking like a bargain, as Grant is 12th in scoring in the East, averaging 23.5 points per game. He's also averaging 5.1 rebounds, 2.9 assists, and 1.2 blocks, and is knocking down nearly 38% of his three-pointers. He's been the Pistons' best player on both ends of the court and can guard virtually anyone on the floor. The low-risk, high-reward Josh Jackson signing has also paid off, and even Mason Plumlee has done well, as he's averaging nearly a double-double. Yes, they are still light years away from contention, but I like what I've seen from Weaver's talent assessment so far.
Not so fast, Johnny. We can't completely bury the Killian Hayes pick because he's hurt, but in the 7 games he did play in this season, he was timid, turned the ball over way too much, and couldn't throw the ball into the ocean. I wanted Tyrese Halliburton, and as he continues to have a fine rookie campaign in Sacramento, the Hayes pick is looking worse and worse. I also don't get prioritizing Plumlee over Christian Wood. Before he went down with an ankle injury, Wood was sizzling, averaging 22 points, 10 rebounds, a steal, and a block and a half per game. I'm more on the middle on Weaver so far.
Now in year 2 of the Steve Yzerman era, how far away are the Red Wings from contention?
Unfortunately, still a couple of years. Guys, in hockey, it simply takes longer for the youngsters to develop. 2020 top pick Lucas Raymond re-injured an arm injury from 4 years ago and could be out the rest of the season out in Sweden, which is obviously a buzzkill. The right winger scored 6 goals and 12 assists in 34 games. He has a bright future, but it's gonna take time.
Yeah, Johnny, but in some good news, 2019 top pick Moritz Seider has played well in Sweden, and the Wings are very pleased with how he's developed, scoring 5 goals and 19 assists in 33 games. He's nearly a lock to be on the Wings roster next season. But I'm with you, Johnny. Wings fans are going to have to be patient with this rebuild. But I still have all the faith in the world in Stevie Y.
The Wings are tied for an NHL league low in wins with 5 and are third worst in points with 13. But I assure you, Detroit, better days are ahead. Patience is a virtue.
In his first mock draft, Detroit Free Press Lions beat writer Dave Burkett has the Lions taking North Dakota State quarterback Trey Lance with the 7th overall pick in April's NFL draft. Is this the right move to make?
Burkett is as connected as anyone in Lions circles. So guys, he's a credible source, and I absolutely love this for the Lions. Lance is 6'4" and 226 pounds and is known for a strong arm and quick mobility. Jared Goff is here for now, but if he falters, Lance would be great to fall back on. I'm all for drafting a young quarterback at 7, especially since we got additional draft capital in the Goff deal. If Goff hits, great, but if he doesn't, you can cut ties with him after a season or two and get the young QB waiting in the wings in the lineup.
I don't like it, Johnny. The Lions simply have holes everywhere and they need to fill them, especially on the defensive side of the ball. You can't tie up over $50 million in guaranteed money on one QB and then decide to take another at 7 overall.
I disagree, Candy. You fire away at the QB position until you know for 100% certainty it's locked up. We don't know that with Goff, and if I had to bet, I doubt he's the long-term answer, although I did like the trade to get him and those 2 future first-round picks.
Kiss my ass, Johnny.
At 11-9, Michigan State is in danger of missing the NCAA tournament under Tom Izzo for the first time since 1997. Simply put, is Izzo washed up?
What a crazy year for Sparty, as MSU rose to as high as number 4 in the country following a 6-0 start with wins over Notre Dame and Duke. But wow, have they been a train wreck since, and the Rocket Watts point guard experiment has failed miserably. But to answer the question, no, Izzo is not washed up. Izzo was coming off back-to-back-to-back Big Ten titles, and will soon welcome 2022 number 1 recruit Amoni Bates to East Lansing. I consider this season a blip in the radar and fully expect the Spartans to rebound next season.
True, Johnny, but I'm still waiting on Izzo to win the big one again. The year 2000 wasn't exactly yesterday.
The man has been to 8 Final Fours, Candy. Zip it.
Detroit Sports Extreme presents Michigan Moments.
This Michigan moment brings us back to February 19th, 1970, when Detroit Tigers pitcher Denny McLain was suspended indefinitely from baseball for gambling activities. The troubled ex-Tiger fell just as quickly as he rose. In 1968, McLain became baseball's first 30-game winner since Dizzy Dean in 1934, when he went 31-6 with a 1.96 ERA, pitching an astounding 28 complete games. He didn't slow down in 1969 either, going 24-9 with a 2.80 ERA. Although he had a curveball and a changeup, he relied mostly on his lively fastball to get batters out, and in the late 1960s, it was as electric as a South American eel. But in 1970, things began to turn for the worst. Following his return from suspension 3 months later in the 1970 season, McLain struggled mightily on the mound and was soon suspended again, this time by the Tigers in September, for dousing 2 beat writers with buckets of water. Just as he was about to return, baseball suspended him again for the remainder of the season for carrying a gun on the team flight. Yikes! McLean's 1970 season ended with a record of only 3-5 and 4.63 ERA. Later that year, he was forced into bankruptcy despite being the first player in Tigers history to earn $100,000. The Tigers traded him in October, and following short stints in Washington, Oakland, and Atlanta that featured numerous off-the-field antics and serious arm trouble, made worse by cortisone shots he took for his sore arm, McLean was forced to retire in 1972. 3 years after winning 31 games and 2 years after winning his second consecutive Cy Young, he was out of baseball at the age of only 29. Known to drink a case of Pepsi a day, no judgments here as I drink a case of beer a day, McLean's weight ballooned to 330 pounds following retirement, and he was imprisoned for drug trafficking, embezzlement, and racketeering. Today, along with Eli Zaret and Bob Page, the 76-year-old McLean co-hosts a podcast called No Filter Sports. Late last year, he held an estate sale, parting with everything in his 3,500 square foot Wixom home, including signed baseball gloves and much more from the 1968 World Series. My next Pepsi is to you, Denny. Cheers.
Rock that boat!
It's now time for Rock That Boat, where our regular mainstay, Boats from the West Side, gives us 1 minute of what's floating around in that noggin of his.
Hey, Johnny. Boats from the West Side again. Hey, man. What am I supposed to watch anymore, man? Football's done. Red Wings suck. Eiserman's supposed to take this over and turn us into a winning team. He ain't done shit. What the hell, man? Why we still got Jeff Flashel, man? That's just garbage to me, man. And then the Pistons actually they look pretty good for a tanking team. I don't know, man. They got something going. It's just whatever. You can't watch it though. And then my Spartans, they're terrible, man. They ain't even making the tournament this year. They ain't even going to make the NIT. They're going to have a losing record, man. It's so bad. All I got to look forward to is watching NASCAR, man. NASCAR is pretty cool, man. You should talk about it more on your show, man. I don't know if you like it or not, man, but it's actually a pretty fun sport, man, and it was the only sport going during the pandemic, man. We had some fun betting on that shit, too, man.
That was Boats from the West Side in Rock That Boat. Bird of the Week.
Sadiq Bey. Bey has flourished since moving into the Blake Griffin spot in the starting lineup, and recently won Eastern Conference Player of the Week, averaging 17.8 points, 5.5 rebounds, 2 assists, and 4 three-pointers per game, while shooting an insane 71% from both the field and the land of three. He is thankfully a Troy Weaver draft pick that is paying huge dividends and is playing all the minutes he can handle.
Turd of the Week.
Red Wings forward Franz Nielsen. Nielsen is the team's highest paid player, but notched only 3 points and no goals in 18 games this season. He was rewarded by just getting waived. Nielsen has 1 year remaining on his contract at a $5.25 million cap hit after this season. Good riddance.
Stat of the Week.
36. The Red Wings have gone 36 consecutive power plays without scoring a goal, a dubious streak that's lasted 12 games and counting. They last scored a power play goal 7 minutes and 26 seconds into the third period on January 28th against the Dallas Stars. It's the longest single-season streak without a power play goal for the Wings since the 1939-40 Wings without a power play goal. And the cold winter just keeps on getting colder. Thanks for listening to this edition of DSC. Try to stay warm out there, guys, and be sure to tune in to the Michigan-Iowa game on Thursday. See you next week, Detroit!